back again for DemonSpawn Faction Review 2.0. I've already released the legendary version, so this time we're going to go ahead and jump into the epics. Let's get into it. Epic is Allure, and Allure is a personal favorite of mine. I love her. She's the hot demon for sure. And her kit's kind of basic, direct, and has like a singular focus to it, and it's crowd control. Her A1 is a 3-hit random that decreases the turn meter by 25% on each hit. Now this skill right here is great for dungeon bosses. The only dungeon boss that you can't manipulate their turn meter is Dragon. So and since it's 3-hit, she is perfect for Fire Knight. She's also real good for Spider if you're not running one of the real quick, the speed run style comps that people are running for Spider nowadays. And then Minotaur, she's great early to mid game when you're starting your Minotaur. She can really kind of help you take down that Minotaur quick without him getting many, if any, turns, and kind of push you to that next stage, so that way you get the most scrolls out of your runs. Like if on a normal team comp or some of your clan boss team, you can only take down stage 13. You throw someone like her in there, and you might, as long as she survives the trash waves, you might really be able to push that 14 or possibly even 15. So she's someone that I that I plan on investing in my baby account, and someone that I've always had a hero that I've always held an interest in. Her A2 is a 2-hit AoE, which is real strong. And each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense. That's a small version, but as an added bonus, it's not bad. And then as an additional bonus, places a sleep debuff for 1 turn on targets that are under the decreased defense debuff. So, a lot of crowd control there, a little bit of stat debuff to kind of help, the rest, a little synergy for the rest of the team. And it's a 2-hit AoE. She is an attack type hero, so that hits fairly decent, not overwhelming, but fairly decent. Also, this is one of the ones that if you are going to utilize her in dungeons and stuff, it would probably be all right to book this. Epic books are a little rare, so it kind of depends on your roster, but this is a good trash wave kind of skill right here. Her A3 it's pretty decent. It's probably her hardest hitting skill, but I consider her specialization to be her A1, her TM manipulation. Attacks one enemy, has an extra 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit, which means you can build her with only 70% crit, and it will ignore 50% of the target's defense, which means like the high defense heroes, Golem, I think Fire Knight might have high defense. Force Keep, of course, keeps high defense. She's gonna hit pretty hard with this. Her aura is a faction war aura, 50 accuracy. That's pretty solid. A lot of the DemonSpawn have a lot of HP burns and leech and provoke and bombs. There's a lot of bombs, so if you're gonna run a DemonSpawn faction war team, then her aura will definitely be something that you can utilize if you have her. As far as the comps go, she's pretty much the only thing she would specialize in is TM manipulation. So, and I've already kind of went over that. If that's something that you're interested in, she is a staple in TM manipulation teams. She looks great. She's well designed. I love her kit. So overall, I gave her a B+ as far as epics go. Now remember, she is rated off of epics. Her base stats, she's kind of low on HP. She's very squishy, but for her kit, having so much utility, she has pretty high attack. She has decent speed, and the rest is pretty basic. She gets 10% more crit damage. So, she has mediocre stats, but she has a really good kit, in my opinion. Alright, heading on to the next, we have Excruciator, the first Veil hero ever dropped. Now, there's quite a few content creators that went over Excruciator, and she is just, needless to say, not very impressive at all. Really, the only thing in her kit that comes off, interesting at all is her passive. At the beginning of each round, she places a veil, and then every time she kills an enemy, she places a veil. And it's the basic veil version, so every time she attacks, it's removed. It is possible that she starts with a veil, kills an enemy, like in trash waves or maybe even campaign. So she stays veiled up, and seeming she is very squishy with her HP and defense. Maybe she could be utilized in faction wars, mid-level, early to mid-level dungeons, and maybe possibly help you get through campaign. She does, her A1 and her A2 are both based off of the veil mechanic. She does a little bit of increased damage while under them. Chosen Brad had done a video on her when she first dropped, and he said he wasn't too impressed with how hard she hit using these mechanics. So I'm gonna take his word for it and just say that she's not very strong for an epic at all. She's not worth booking. She might possibly be used full in arena for certain team comps, like a provoke single target tank carry kind of comp. Overall, even though she looks pretty cool, similar to her big sister, Krutroxa, she only got a D for me. D minus even. Our next one is Erin, yes, and she is well known for being fusion food for Rosin. She is also one of the worst extenders in the game, in my opinion, and we'll get into her kit in just a minute. As far as notable skills, her A1 is a one-hit, one single target that has a 30% chance of placing a 5% poison, so it has a little bit of utility there. In Clan Boss, you can book it up to 40% chance. That's still not too strong. In counterattack team comp, it might land enough poisons to merit some damage. Her A2 is her extender. It's an AoE extender, which means it could have some use, say for stun, crowd control in dungeons or faction wars, possibly even arena, as kind of an extender to someone else's kit to help emphasize another hero's kit. But it's a 5 turn that you can only book down to 4. Even though you can get it at 100%, that's kind of not worth the A2. Her A3 is a one-hit single target that places a block buffs. Again, maybe arena, maybe faction wars. Not really all that great. And her aura is an ally accuracy by 70 in dungeons. So again, that kind of points her towards dungeons, even though it doesn't apply for faction wars. She's kind of mid-level best for dungeons and faction wars. As far as her base stats go, she's squishy with 13,000 HP. Her attack is pretty decent. Defense is okay. She has real good speed, especially for being an attack type hero. But all in all, it's nothing that kind of makes up for her lackluster kit. So with that, I say that maybe if you're going to utilize her A1 and A2 might be worth booking to get the extender happening more often and to get that poison chance. She could possibly be used in Clan Boss for the extender and poison, faction wars and dungeons, using like cooldown reduced team comps or crowd control in dungeons and arena. But all in all, there's a lot better options out there, especially when we're talking about epics. Overall, I gave her a C minus just because there's possible potential there, in dungeons and Clan Boss. If you find yourself really needing, you got one strong dot hero and you kind of need an additional poisons every once in a while. Between her A1 and her A2, she'll be able to kind of keep poisons up a little more. But other than that, I didn't really find her all that useful. Alright, heading on to our next. We got Soldrinker. in the DemonSpawn faction, it seems like a lot of the heroes in the DemonSpawn faction have bombs in their kit, and Soldrinker is one of the staples for a bomb team. As far as his kit goes, his A1 has one hit single target that decreases bomb debuff detonation countdowns by 1 turn. That can kind of be useful, especially if you really pump up speed and keep him going often on a bomb team. His A2 is attack 3 times at random and decreases the bomb fuse detonation countdown by 1 if the target has a poison. So that's really situational and not something you can rely on too much. His A3 is a 2-hit AoE, and each hit has a 50% chance that you can get up to 75% chance of placing a bomb that detonates after 3 turns. 3 turns is kind of long for bombs, but if you incorporate that into his A1 and then on top of that other heroes that would go into a bomb team, 3 turns could be brought down to 1 fairly easy. His passive is kind of like his best skill. He has an 80% chance of placing 2 bombs that detonate after 2 turns when he dies. And he is also a campaign enemy, so I'm sure there's quite a few of us out there that have lost their farmer due to killing Soldrinker in this proc. As far as his base stats go, he has some pretty decent HP. His attack is okay, nothing special. And his defense is average at best. His speed is pretty good for a DPS. It's on the higher end. So he might be someone that you can really put speed into and utilize his kit. And since he has DPS, he has 10% extra crit damage. And that's about it. Overall, I gave Soldrinker a D+, just because bomb teams aren't very popular. The bomb heroes aren't very, something that gets structured together often. And then also bombs just don't scale very well. In my opinion, they even though it takes a lot of bombs and a few turns to do a good amount of damage. Our next one is one I'm on the fence about. I've recently learned some things that can make Nazana a very useful hero. She doesn't hit very hard, but I'm gonna get into some of the uses you can use her for. She's an HP hero, and her kit is kind of very direct, and now that I have a little more knowledge, can be quite useful. She has a simple AoE attack on her A1. An AoE A1 is always good. Her A2 is probably her best skill. It's a 50% ally protection buff on all allies, and it places a shield buff on her, with the value of the shield being 40% of her max HP. And that's a 4 turn you can get down to 3, so that's something you can utilize often, with a little increase to the shield if you book it. Which her A2 is definitely one that's worth booking. And then her A3 is another AoE that has a 50% chance that you can get up to 75% chance of placing the big version of decreased attack. She can't carry you as an attack down hero in Clan Boss, but she could definitely work as a combo hero with another hero that has attack down on a cooldown skill. So that's something to keep in mind. It's on a 5 turn though, that you can book down to 3 turns, so it's definitely something you're going to need to book. So her A2 and A3 is something that you're going to want to book to get that 75% chance and to get it down to a 3 turn and to increase the shield and get that cooldown. Now and then her aura is a pretty strong HP aura for Faction Wars. It's pretty decent as far as you're talking about just what's available in DemonSpawn. Now, the thing that I have recently learned to utilize in her kit is on top of the ally protect and the attack down, which are as good utility in most content, most areas of the game. Whether you're running a defense turtle team in arena or you just need a little more sustain in a late game dungeon. But also, she is one of the heroes that you can put stun or maybe even sleep if you lack stun gear, and utilize that A1 to put all the trash enemies, all the enemies on the trash waves to sleep or stun, preferably stun. It's kind of a great mechanic to really fill out her kit and make her someone that really brings value to your team. As far as her stats go, she does scale off of attack, but her attack is one of her low stats. She has great HP, and she has pretty high defense, so she's not really squishy at all, but she doesn't hit very hard neither. I feel like to balance her out, and it would probably be best to scale her on defense to make her not too OP, but HP would probably be the best, since she does already have a pretty high HP. You do that, and she's gonna hit nothing too strong, nothing over powerful, but definitely give her more DPS, more damage in runs. She has 103 speed. That's great speed, and she has some pretty high resist. So she's kind of a tanky, like a tank, someone you want to be hit, and if not, she has ally protect and shield to make sure that she absorbs some of that damage. She's a high sustain hero. You go stun gear or sleep gear on her to add a little bit of CC to your team, and she can really bring some good value to your team. She also looks great, kind of a scary sister to Allure, the ugly stepsister, if you would. And overall, I gave her a C plus, just because it does take a little bit of a proper build and investment to really get good value out of her. But if you got her in your roster and you're looking for a little help in later stage dungeons, or maybe you want to run a defensive turtle team in arena, she is someone to look at. Alright, our next one is Infernal Baroness, and she has been catching quite a bit of hype lately. Her kit is fairly interesting. Her A1 is an AoE with heal. It heals the ally with the lowest HP by 5% of the damage inflicted. And that's not really a lot, but she is a defense scaling hero, so she can bring sustain to herself while doing reasonable damage and providing a little bit of a heal. Her A2 is another AoE that has a 50% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack. So like we said with Nazana, it's a 4 turn that you can get down to 3 turn, and it's a 50% that you can book to 75%. So she can't carry you as a sole attack down hero in clan boss or dungeons if that's something you want, but she would be great for a combo hero with someone like Nazana. Her A3 is a perfect veil. Perfect veil is really the only version of veil you should use. It kind of really represents what the mechanic should be, and it does it for 3 turns, so that's great. It's a 5 turn that you can book down to 4 turn. To be honest, it kind of seems like her A2 and her A3 definitely should be booked if you're going to use her, and due to the damage and heal, you might even want to book her A1. If you're going to use her, she's someone that would probably be worth investing in. I know there's a few people out there that she kind of is a staple in their spider team or faction wars team, so she's definitely an interesting hero. As far as base stats, she's got a reasonable amount of HP, pretty good defense, her speed's average, and she has fairly high resist, kind of help her through things like spider and arena and faction wars where CC and debuffs are fairly common. She's really kind of good support for any team composition. So you kind of need to judge for yourself if she's someone that adds value to the specific comp that you're building. Overall, I gave her a B plus. She looks great. Has a real rounded out kind of kit, and she adds value to just about any kind of team. So I feel like she's worthy of her rating. Our next one is Hellgazer. I've seen her quite a bit in arena. To me, I never consider her a threat, but let's go over her kit and see why people decide to choose her. 1 hit single target with a 30% chance of a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Not bad. That's a pretty good A1, the big version of defense down. But it's only at 30%. You can't book it for any more increase, so it's not very reliable. Her A2 is kind of a self-sustaining setup move. It removes all the debuffs from her and places a 50% increased attack for 2 turns and grants an extra turn. So you can start off with that and lead right into her A3. That is another AoE that on each critical hit fills this champion's turn meter by 10%. So that right there, she kind of starts off as a trash wave or a buffer for hard-hitting nukers to kind of get in there and maybe take out some shields, or just do some moderate damage, so that way the rest of your team can clear out or cripple the enemy team. Her aura is a 27% Faction Wars ally attack, so kind of one-sided there. As far as her base stats go, she's got 17,000 HP. That's pretty decent. 14, almost 1,500 attack. That's pretty decent as well. She's very low on defense and very low on speed, so she's kind of like that one round right there, and then for the rest of the match, she's gonna be kind of used up. She might be able to get a decreased defense in on a boss or something. Other than that, the rest of her stats are pretty basic. She gets the plus 10% for being an attack type hero. Nothing all that, amazing. She could be used in arena, faction wars, the force keep due to her defense down on her A1, and she can bring relative value to a lot of the dungeons. The best comp idea I could come up with is a speed comp. You use her, you pump her with some speed, use her to set up the rest of your team to really do some hard nuking. Overall, I gave her a C+. Nothing super overwhelming, but she does have some value when it comes to faction wars, possibly arena for setup, and a few dungeons. Our next one is one of my favorite DemonSpawn, Padma. She is a staple attack down hero and very good at what she does. Her kit isn't nothing too awe-inspiring, but we'll get into that. She has a 2-hit single target, and then if it's critical, so you want to build her with crit, she has an 85 that you can book up to 100% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff on all enemies. So her hits are single target, but her attack down debuff can be AoE for 2 turns. It's similar to Maneater's attack down. She is a defense hero, so it scales off defense. Her A1 scales off attack a little bit too. Her A2 is an AoE with a 35 that you can book up to 50% chance of placing the big version of decreased accuracy. I'm sure that has certain places that it could really be useful. Maybe faction wars, since she has single target hit, or not faction wars, I'm sorry, Golem, since she has single target hits even with an AoE defense down. This is an AoE, but it has a chance of doing the decreased accuracy, which in Golem he does a few debuffs, freeze, accuracy down, heal reduction, so that's something that kind of play part in that. And her A3 is pretty good. It's attack one enemy and remove all buffs from the target and place them on, so she steals all buffs. That's great for magic keep, quite a few dungeons. Arena has quite a bit of debuffs in it. Clan boss, where you always need an attack down hero, he always I think it's post 50%. He has the increased attack debuff, so that can come in handy on stealing that away from him. And like I said, she's one of my favorite. She looks pretty cool. I love the way that she has that gradient flame going up her shield, and she definitely represents the DemonSpawn. So all in all, I gave Padma an A-. Her basic stats are pretty basic. She has some okay defense. She has good speed. She has some okay resist. So nothing too special there. But all in all, I think she's a very usable character in a lot of areas, even though her kit's fairly simple. Well, that's it for the DemonSpawn Epics. The next installment of the DemonSpawn Faction War review will be the rares, and there's actually a couple in there worth talking about, so make sure to tune in for that. As always, happy grinding, and may the shards break in your favor.